Hey everybody, welcome back to the chaotic little book corner. Unpopular book opinion time. Me Before You by Jojo Moyes. Okay. Pros of this book. It was interesting to think about the idea of suicide. Self-induced. But letting your family know that it's coming. It was interesting to... Nope, that's it. That's all I got. That's my pro. My negatives. Let's start with the beginning. Louisa Clark. I have nothing negative to say about Louisa. A lot of people think that she is really, really too simple of a character, and like she's just too careful, and she's not this and she's not that, and there's so many opinions about Louisa. All right. The maze conversation. There is a reference in this book to her having been sexually assaulted. It is never clearly stated. It is never fully executed as a plot point, but it is alluded to. It has been taken out of the movie completely. That's one thing that bothers me, because a sexual assault, whether it be rape or just fondling, let me rephrase that. Whether it be rape or fondling, there's no such thing as just anything when it comes to sexual assault. Whether it be anything sexually driven that hurt Louisa as a person, it changes who you are in some way or another. And if we follow Louisa from the aspect of somebody who has been sexually violated, then the fact that she is happy with a mundane, safe life makes sense. The fact that she is in a relationship where she is undervalued and underappreciated makes sense. The fact that she is very, very confused not confused. The fact that she is very, very concerned about the shift in her job makes sense. The fact that the character is conservative in her dress style in terms of coverage makes sense. Even though she's very fun and lively, thank you, with colors, she's very conservative in terms of how she covers herself. That makes sense. Okay. The fact that she also holds on to a memory of an item, the bumblebee tights, makes sense. I'm going to put this down now because I just don't feel like holding it. So Louisa as a character who has been sexually violated, that makes sense. And I read the book as she was a survivor of sexual violence. And with that reading, my anger was highly charged because, first of all, the boyfriend that she is with in the very beginning is somewhat of a dick. Now, the character is written as a dick. Like, he's just written like a jerk. You can tell that he's a little bit arrogant and cocky and obnoxious and rude, and he's not someone you really appreciate, like, as a person. Okay. That, for a person who is a survivor of a sexual violent act, yeah, I admit, I've dated that guy a couple of times in his style, and it's a very common response to sexual violence to lessen your standards, shall we say. So, that being said, I'm now going to get into spoilers. So, for those of you who have not read this book, please, if you want to hear my thoughts, go for it, but this is going to contain some spoilers. Not too many, but definitely it's going to I can't really be held responsible for the fact that I'm going to blather because I'm angry. So my words may not... I may say some things I shouldn't say about people in the book if you haven't read it. So there are spoilers. Okay. Next, if you really, really love this book and you disagree with me, I understand. I completely understand why this book is important to so many people. I understand why so many people love it. I understand why it's such a well-loved cult book. I understand the feelings and emotions behind it. I did cry when the normal things happened. I understand all aspects of the crying, emotional love story factors. I get it. But I have a problem with how the violence and response to a woman who has been sexually violated is treated. That is my problem. Now, if you want to discuss it in the comments down below, let me know. You're more than welcome to say something. If you want to say something to me in private, in my About Me section on my channel, there is my email. Feel free to email me. Keep it kind, people. I am only voicing an opinion. I am not stating facts. I am not stating that I know what Jojo Moyes was saying. I am not stating anything to that effect. I am purely stating it from a perspective of a woman who has been raped or sexually assaulted multiple times in her life and who feels that there are aspects of a character that were overlooked and underplayed and completely disregarded about the character's actual mental state, and I don't think it was fair to the character. Okay? So let's just really quickly go through that because I don't want to make this video 100 minutes long. So the part of this book that really upsets me is one big factor in general. First of all, she does tell Will about the maze. And that, in and of itself, is the initial factor. And she also tells him other parts of herself that are very... I'm sorry, I'm looking off because I'm like... I'm just really emotionally drained by this. Like, this book has perturbed me for a while. So, she tells Will a lot about herself that opens herself up to complete and total annihilation when he decides to tell her she's not enough for him. I'm not going to touch on the suicide aspect of it. I'm not going to touch on that. I'm not going to touch on the parents' relationship. The only thing I'm touching on is that Louise, as a character, is told, and by telling Louise as a character what she's told, you're telling others who have been sexually violated the same thing, and that's my problem. She is told, one, she is not enough to keep someone alive, which is a terrifying fact, and also telling them they're not enough, period, is inappropriate. And two, that she is required to live her life the way that Will sees fit, instead of how she is, because she's not, quote, living her life properly. That I have a problem with. To tell a woman who has been through some violent act so drastically terrifying and awful that she cannot potentially see and fathom the idea of leaving her home. I have met women who have been sexually assaulted and who have been sexually violated, who can't leave their home, who are afraid to speak to men, who are afraid to function in a normal society, and who it has changed their entire life. And by telling Louisa, a character who has been violated, I don't care how, quote-unquote, little the violation was. You are allowed to respond to it however you see fit. And if that means you change how you live your life into a more secluded and hermit style, you are allowed to do that. You are allowed to be angry at society. You are allowed to feel as if you are owed something to a point. You are allowed to stop wanting to leave your home and to stop taking risks. You are allowed to not take risks. No one is required to live their life in a risk-taking environment, let alone to be living in a risk-take environment where you're doing it for someone else. She is not taking risks for herself. She is putting herself into a situation where she is emotionally, physically, and ideally not violated, vulnerable for a gentleman who is not taking into account the fact that she has been harmed in the past by different aspects of men, and he is continually telling her to do things that he would have done in his own time, and she's doing them to please him in a way that, in my mind, is completely messed up, and it's unfair to her, and it's unfair to her that after everything she puts herself through emotionally, mentally, and physically, she's not enough. Basically, I felt that the story told people who have been victims of sexual violence, unless you learn how to live your life in a normal way again and to take risks, you are not enough. And that broke my heart. That is my trouble with Me Before You. That is my struggle with what that story portrayed and told as a story. That is my problem. That is not my only struggle with the book. I have many others, but that is the reason that I gave this book 2 stars. I want to give it 1. You know what? I'm going to change it on Goodreads. It's getting 1 star. This book, I'm angry. I'm angry on behalf of other women who have been sexually violated and who don't know what to do. I'm angry on behalf of myself because I've been told time and time again. I had a boyfriend who I loved more than life itself. And he had lived his life in a very, very risk-taking factor. Substances, parties, things of that nature. And I can't bring myself to do that because it scares me and it puts me in danger and it makes me feel uncomfortable. And he used to tell me that I couldn't possibly understand certain parts of life without that experience. And let me tell you how unfair that is to say to somebody, that they can't possibly understand life unless they experience it the same way that you did or do. That's wrong. It's mildly abusive. And it's detrimentally damaging to the person who could be healing. With your relationship, they could be healing and you're harming them. That's not fair. All right, that has been my chat. That has been my thoughts. Please, 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 again, I'm not trying to offend. I'm not trying to harm. Comment down below. I'm open to discussion. Email me if you want to discuss this further. If there is anyone who speaks ill of those who are sexually assaulted or says anything drastically, potentially offensive to my subscribers or myself, the comment will be deleted. This is my space. I control it. There is no negativity needed on this channel. If you wish to discuss, I open discussion. I do not open hatred and rudeness. It's unnecessary, and it actually is not a productive way to express your opinions. So, if you have something ill feeling to say, you are more than welcome to email me, but be aware that it may be shared with the public, and I will call you out if you try to attack me for what I've just said. Please, if you disagree, be respectful. I respect anyone who disagrees with what I've said. I respect anyone who thinks that I am wrong. But don't be mean about it. Not necessary. Okay? That sounded more patronizing than it needed to, and I do apologize for that. But I've gotten a few emails in the past recently from people who were highly charged and extremely cruel towards me about thoughts, especially from my classics post. I've gotten 3 emails that were calling me some severely crazy, unnecessary words and calling me a left-wing feminist is an accurate depiction, but using it as a slander, confusing, but unfair. So, just be aware, I'm not looking to start fights. I'm not looking to start wars. I'm looking to start discussions. And I am open to those 110%. I will speak to you all very soon, and I'll talk to you next time.